Hey, it's Joe Glines from the Automator, and today during our hero call, Jean Lalonde, the author of Quick Access Pop-Up, joined us to show his new tool, Quick Clipboard Editor. It's a really great tool. You're going to enjoy this video. Really powerful tool that you'd be surprised at how often it'll come up and help you. Most people will copy something, paste it like Notepad, and do some edits there. This tool gives you a lot of great little other tools at your fingertips and allows you to manipulate things in the clipboard actively. You can pin things. You can do a lot of stuff with a very powerful tool, so check it out. You can download it here. I'll put the URL up on the screen. It's a free tool, but John, of course, takes donations, and so if you enjoy the tool, please consider donating. It really helps him out. I know he put in a lot of time into this tool. It's a really powerful tool. So if you're a power user, you're going to love this tool. Check it out. Cheers.
Right. So, John, hi.
You want to show us that QCE? Is it still QCE?
So I already showed that, but maybe I could. What's new now is that the version 3 is out since a few days. The main addition to this release is the use of Scintilla editor.
Yeah, that was cool.
And you remember we talked about that. Isaias helped me with that maybe 1 year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And finally, it was a big learning curve to control the Scintilla editor, but it gives so many good features when you are working with your text, so that it's really a toolkit, and you have to assemble everything. It's not one thing you switch on and then you use it. No, it's when you open the switch, you're just starting now to assemble all the pieces that have to work together in order to make the editing more powerful. And there's been some other addition also in this release. But maybe for those who don't know the app, I could just start with what it is, basically. The reason why I developed that is that I was not satisfied with the Clipboard utilities that I've used. I was glad with the fact that they were keeping the history, so I had copies of my previous clipboard items or clips. But what I also wanted is to modify one of these items before pasting it. And it's a simple task, and you can say that you can go into an editor, then paste it in the editor to do the changes in the editor, then copy it again, and then paste it in your final destination, assuming that in the final application you don't have the good editing tools. If you're pasting to a browser, you don't have editing tools. You can just move text around, but not with very good tools. So the tools I was using did not have an easy way to edit. They had one, but you had to click and click and click just to get to the text to edit. So my first goal was to have an editor that would open and immediately contain the content of the clipboard, the text in the clipboard. You do your changes, you hit copy, and it goes back to the clipboard being ready to be used. So, and also it gives you a kind of monitor of what's in your clipboard. And on top of that, I added all the editing features that I would like to use. And there's a lot coming out from the AutoHotkey functions like substrings, things like that, inserting strings, all that. So sorting. So all this has been put together into a user interface that gives easy access to all these features. In version 2, I added the capability to capture images and also a binary clipboard content. So for example, if you copy something from Word that has multiple formats, Quick Clipboard Editor will remember all the formats and being able to paste back the content of your clipboard with all the formatting or all the attributes that the original content had.
Can I ask a question there? So I understand that if you have plain text, you copy the text, you can modify it and then paste your modification, right? But if it is let's say a binary thing like from Microsoft or Microsoft Word or whatever, are you still able to edit it and then paste it as if it was, or not only paste it?
Yeah, as Scintilla editor or the old basic editor in Windows cannot edit as would do Word. So as soon, I'll show you better just to show it. So the answer is yes and no. So
great answer.
entire screen. So here's the editor. I'll just
Mentioned, right?
okay. So that's the editor. Let me, before going to answer your question, is I just give a quick overview. So
Sure.
you have here the editor, which is the Scintilla component. You have a menu with all commands that you can use: sorting, inserting, find and replace, change case, convert, with various need that programmers can have to convert, for example, a standard text to something that can be put in a URL. A lot of options there. A few things that are available in the toolbar so that you can switch from fixed font to proportional font. Always on top so that if you open something else, it will stay on top. Word wrap when you have long text. So it can wrap or not wrap. You can see invisible character. If you have enters, you will see them. So these are features that are easily accessible. And then
Perfect.
here you have buttons. If you want to copy what you have edited here, you can copy it to the clipboard, then it becomes available for other application when you use the paste command, or you can paste directly to the last application that was open. So let's say that I'll open Notepad. Is it there? No. Okay.
Really
anyway,
funny.
so here I have a text editor. So if I do copy something here, it will be automatically available in Quick Clipboard Editor. It is not now because I have some text that has been modified. So it will not replace the text that you modify. But if I cancel the changes there, it will bring the text that I just copied. If I copy something else, let's put it on top. If I copy something else, it will just automatically being reflected in the editor, being ready to be changed if you need it.
Perfect.
So if I do changes here and I create a new window here and I did my changes, I'm ready, so I can paste. It will paste to the last application where I was.
Perfect. That's awesome.
So now if the application is Word, so here I have text with some formatting. Okay. So if I copy it, it will be in Quick Clipboard Editor. Where is it? It's here. Well, strangely, it was okay. So that's the text I copied here. I will just take the whole paragraph. Oh, and I will word wrap. It will be better. So you see that you don't have here the formatting in the editor because it's not Word. It's in the editor. But you can see here that there is in the clipboard the HTML format, the RTF format, and the meta format that Word is putting in the clipboard. And that is available for applications that want to get this information. You can also inspect the clipboard here and see all the formats that Word puts in the clipboard. Okay, and all this is available. So if I do something else, all this is also available. Let me just write something else, copy it to the clipboard. So if I go back in the previous clips, I can do it in different ways. I can click the back arrow here that will take back the previous clip and all the one that I had before, or I can use right click to use a menu containing all my past clips.
That's awesome.
Those that have this star here, it means that they have more than text. This one is only text. This one has RTF, all the formats. And this one is image, as you can see with the thumbnail of the image.
Yep.
So if I can go back to the previous clip.
Sorry.
Here I have me. So
I'm sorry to cut you there. How did you put an image in a menu?
You can. It's an icon. It's a menu icon. So you transform.
You can use an image in an icon. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in fact, you can
That's
use
cool
PNG files as icon in menus.
Wow, that's
you don't
crazy.
Have to
I didn't know
ICO.
that.
You don't have to use ICO or images. It can be PNG.
Never tested it. You see, that's great.
No, it works well. You can decide the size of the thumbnail you want. So to go back to your question, here, no, I cannot edit it with all the format that Word has. if I change anything here, let's say I will make this uppercase. You see that you lost the other format here. It's not HTML and RTF anymore. And if I copy it, it will be copied as a new clip that is text. So now it's in the clipboard, but as a text clip. If I go back to the previous clip, this one here contains the HTML and RTF. And if I paste this clip here to a new Word document, and if I paste it here, it will be pasted with all the formats that it has, with some exceptions that I don't understand. Sometimes the background is not there, the background color, a few things are lost, but normally everything is there. And it is there because Quick Clipboard Editor does not remember only the text or the HTML. It remembers all the clipboard content. It's a binary file, clipboard all, that you probably know when you use AutoHotkey. So that's clipboard all can become a file or can become a field in a database. So I'm using a SQLite database to store these binary content. It allows to retrieve everything. It makes the file bigger, your database gets bigger. And when you start Quick Clipboard Editor, you have the choice. It's here. At your first launch, you will have the welcome window here. I'll remove the always on top, where you can select the size of the database that you want to use. So if you are using images, a lot of images, you will create a big database that can be 1,000 megs. Or if you are working only with text and don't want to use too much space, you can take the lower approach here. So that's one of the choices you have when you start Quick Clipboard Editor for the first time. Also, you can choose if you want to have basic setup with very simple editing features, or the power user setup that I can show you with all these additional features here.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Let me ask you, so let's say, so going back to my original question. So let's say that you copied something from Microsoft Word. The binary usually contains, and actually the HTML, particularly the HTML version, contains a lot of formatting information about whether it's bolded or not, and so on. Now, let's say that you modify the plain text. Let's say that instead of unlike old schools, I would change that to unlike new schools, right? If you just change that word when you're pasting, and you're pasting the binary information, is it possible to change the plain text but keep the formatting? Is that how it behaves? Or is it like when you modify any plain text from a copied multi-format way, like, do you lose the whole thing right away? Or
yeah, sorry, I missed maybe the beginning of your questions, but yeah, you you lose it in the editor, but it is still there in the history. But you cannot modify something in the binary format.
No, I don't know how to explain this part. You can fake it is basically what I'm going for. Like, for example, right now at the bottom, I can see that this particular text has plain text, HTML, RTF, and meta, right?
Yeah.
But then let's say that I modify the word unlike to like. Let's say that I say that. I just say like. Here, everything converted back to text, but I had access to the HTML before. I could replace the word that was changed, but insert back the tags that I had before, and I will put that in the HTML version. And when I come back to paste, it would keep the formatting, so to speak. Does that make, like, I'm just thinking about something that I know that you haven't done. I'm just saying, like, is that possible?
I understand. It makes sense. It's something that could be done. I don't know with what level of success.
Exactly. I'm not trying to create work for you here. I'm just asking about the possibility of that thing being
just to show you that the clipboard here is all the formats are there. If I want to get the source HTML.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yes.
So
Perfect.
you have here
So we already
HTML.
have it. Well, I already have it. I could actually compare the text, so to speak, and the parts that changed. I would change that, but keep the HTML. You know what I mean?
This is where using AI could take
that
care
would
of all
be
that for you, right? Like,
right. I would. That's a very interesting. I'm not saying you do it. I'm just asking about the possibility, right?
Task. It's not a simple task.
No, it's not.
There's so many stuff that Word is putting into the clipboard, into the HTML code, for something that finally is just this here.
Yep, that's right.
And here I have an encoding issue, maybe. I don't know. I haven't. But
right there. So right there. Well, can you go back to that screen, please? Sorry. Yeah. So if we go,
mention some stuff in the chat too, by the way.
All right. So right here, you see the word unlike on line 757, right? So if I know that I could modify this and grab the same HTML, put it back to my clipboard in the correct place, and when I go back to Word and I paste, it would just keep the formatting that I had instead of actually losing the whole thing. Is what I'm trying to.
I think you can do it currently, but with many steps. So if I edit this here, and let me just maybe get rid of the header and just keep the body here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And I do clipboard. Copy the text in the editor as HTML. Copy the clipboard as HTML.
You're missing the HTML at the top, I think.
The top, yeah. Let's try it just to see.
We would grab it. Okay.
I create a new document and I paste what is in my content. So Control V. So I have the format.
Oh, that's awesome. Right.
Okay. So you can do it. There's an encoding issue here. Yes, you could do it, but that's that's not for version 3.1. It will be
no, exactly. That's right. The one that I think
other ideas more useful at this time for what I envision for the next steps for this application.
Wow.
But you see that tools are there.
Right. That's awesome. One of the things that I did want to mention, again, this is not for you to do right away, but I think it's something is good to be aware of. So you see that as you started working with the Scintilla control, right? You can start with, you created this bar on the left side. I think you know that you had to create the numbering bars.
Yeah.
There are, I think, 4 total bars that you can create. One of them, you can create on a secondary one that keeps track of changes, that you can just set a color to whatever you make changes, which is not as hard as what we were describing before. But for example, if you make any changes on this line, you could change the color there to indicate that something changed.
Yeah.
I think that would benefit a lot, especially when you're doing clipboard changes, to make sure you know where all your changes were at a very quick glance. And it's not very hard to implement at some point. Like I would definitely kind of like ask that suggestion, add that suggestion to your future to-do list at some point in 10 years. That's fine, you know.
No, I'm noting it. Yeah, you can also have a column that will be wrapping or folding, unfold. All these things can be added in the the columns here. Yeah,
good. But at least want to know where the changes happened is a great one.
Noted. Yeah. So talking about Scintilla, let me we go to a file. Let's say I copy this here. So the good features of Scintilla, in the options, editor window, you can enable various editing features like in the auto indentation, show the indentation guide, display line number, the column that you were just mentioning, highlight the active line, and allow multiple selection. So all these features, you have them when you use Notepad++ or Cite. I don't know for the editor you use, Zayas, so we probably have some things like that. So these are very interesting features. So for example, if I want to change the text of this here and this here, so I use control click. I use control click to select additional part of the text. And then if I do change case, it will change case in all
that's
these
awesome.
sections altogether.
I think all editors should allow for multi-line editing.
Yeah.
Like that's great. I love that.
So you can also create using the Alt key a rectangle selection.
Perfect.
And let's say I will make it here just to use the change case, which is easy to show. I want to change all this to random case. It gives that, and it will impact only the selection I did.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
you can create
multiple
multi-line editing. So here I use the Shift Alt and the arrow key, and I can type something that will appear on every line.
Yes.
I can use backspace. If I am in text, I can, if I have multiple text selected, let's say this and this, and this here. So if when I have a multiple selection, if I hit the left arrow key, it will put me in multiple editing. So it will insert at every places where at the beginning, or it could be at the end, if I prefer, of every selected. So these are very advanced editing features, but that's what I wanted. So I did it after hours and hours of work.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, and the Scintilla editor, the bad part of it is that there's not much documentation and support group. There's one document did by the developer team that contains every factual information, but very little example, very little. So there is not AutoHotkey. AutoHotkey, there's a forum, there's a lot of places where you can get help. On Scintilla, it's very restricted, but finally I was able to develop all these features.
I would say that is because they are a very old project and their group is actually a mailing list. So everything is through this mailing list. I think they do have an archive somewhere, but to your point, like getting help right now is just like you will have to shoot an email and see if somebody answers at some point.
Yeah, and I use the mail list, and the developer Neil, I don't remember his last name, is still there to help. So that's good. But there's no form. But anyway, so that's. I don't know if you have questions. You know, the features here. If I take an example of the commands here, of course I can sort. Let's say I want to sort by date. Is it sorted by date? No, I will sort it by date. So it will sort automatically here with the basic sorting criteria. But if I want to change this, I could sort. And here, if you know the sort command in AutoHotkey, these are all the options that you can use in AutoHotkey. So I can sort revert, I can sort on numeric values, randomly, based on the line length. I think it's Joe that suggested this feature. Sorting from the last backslash. So if you have a list of file names, you can sort by the last section, regardless of the number of subfolders that can be. So, and also from a given position. So I can say I will sort only from this position here. The position is 19.
Okay.
So let's sort reverse from position 19. It could be from a delimiter. I could say from the column here, but let's sort reverse from 19. I hope it will work. Yes, it worked. You know, in a demo, sometimes it just doesn't work. So it worked. So it can be also sorting from a given, let's say sorting from, now it will be from the dot here, it will sort everything. Of course, here it's all the same text, but you know, so these are the command, sorting command, insert string. So I want to insert 1, 2, 3 at the beginning of every line, or at the end of every line, or at a given position, let's say 19 again, from the beginning of a given text or the end of a given text, plus or minus some offset. So every need that I
That's
had in my
crazy.
own work, I say, oh, I could have make it automatic using this option here. So let's just do it here from the start to make it simple. So it does not appear now because I did some changes without saving it. So if I cancel now, it will. No, it should have worked. It should have worked. Yeah. Let's try
One of
again.
those things, right?
Yeah. Finally, something didn't work. Insert string from start. Go. Now
there it is.
I don't know why it didn't work. So substring is another command that you probably know if you use AutoHotkey. So you can keep or remove some section of every line of the text, etc., etc. The last thing maybe I would explain before if you have a question or anything else is that the ability to save commands. So if I have this command here that is inserting 1, 2, 3, I could hit here, save this command. I will have to give this command a name, but I could click suggest, so it will look at the parameter and create a title that reflects the current options here. So insert 1, 2, 3 from the start. And I could save and execute, but I could also only save. When I save it, I can, before saving it, I can say, do I want to add it in a menu? So there's a menu here, saved commands. So, and I could assign a hotkey to this command, so I will just save it. And now if I go to my save command, I have this option here that I just created under the insert string commands that were saved. The good thing with that, it will allow me, already allows me to use a utility that is called QCE Messenger. And from any script or any batch or any program, I can ask QCE to execute the saves command on the current content of the clipboard. So if you are in an AutoHotkey script, you can call the program QCE messenger.exe space and then execute the name of the command here. And regardless of what's in your clipboard now, it will be changed with this action here to insert 1, 2, 3 at the beginning of every line. I'm not set up here to demonstrate that, but that's one of the features that is already available. And the idea behind that is that to make quick clipboard editor and quick access pop-up to work together, so that in quick clipboard, in quick access pop-up, not sure what version I have installed on this machine. If I go to customize and add, I don't have it here, but there will be here clipboard command as a new feature, as a new as a new favorite that you can add in your QAP menu. And it will allow, for example, to uppercase the content of a clipboard or do any more advanced command that you could describe, that you could save here. So awesome. That's the next step is, in fact, I have a very little user base in Quick Clipboard Editor. It's a very niche application. There may be 100 users at this time only. And I don't mind because that's not the goal for me to have a large user base. But when I will make this available from Quick Access Pop-Up, where I have a few thousand users, I think many of them will adopt QCE based on this capability to have these commands being inserted into the menu that you use every day if you use Quick Access Pop-Up. You have questions or comments?
I do have a question. So I remember on a very early version of this that, if I understand it right, you have what the current status of the clipboard is, and when you make changes, that's kind of like a staging area. It's a little bit of a different area. And I remember that on the first version, you had the actual contents of the clipboard that were not actually editable, so to speak, to be kind of like the background was kind of like grayed out, and then the editing area to have a light background so you know where you are. Are you planning on having that back, or?
I don't remember having that. Maybe that's in another tool that I don't remember what
That
you're
was a very
referring
old.
to.
I think it was the first time you showed it. I think it's version 1.
Maybe I was experimenting. No, actually, you have what you see in the editor. If you browse into the history, you see clips as they are saved and as they are available to be pasted as is to an application.
Okay.
As soon as you modify something, it becomes, as you say, a kind of staging area or a clip to be saved. Something that is in the editor, and when you will want to paste it to an application, it will be created as a new clip and will be added to the history and will be sent to the application that you're using. So there's only one area where you can have something as is or something being modified, and it's the main use. And often I use this as a scratch pad. I want to write an email. I'll start with my editor because I have every tool I need there.
Yeah.
And when the text is ready, I open Gmail and I paste it there.
Whatever you need.
It's much easier to edit with all the tools you're used to use. And in a browser, you have some tools in Gmail, but not as much as.
Right. Let me comment, and I'm saying this because it happened to you twice. It's like I think the users would benefit, especially users that don't know about this, from having a clear distinction between when you're looking at the clipboard and when you're editing. Because as you mentioned, like, oh, I made some change, but things didn't change because I have to cancel this because I hadn't saved it. Like having a clear distinction between when it is editing and what is not editing, I think it is a good thing to have.
Yeah, it is not in your face, but it's there. So when you
at the bottom, okay,
there's a status line, and it is explained in the documentation. So
yes,
it's something you get used to. And if I cancel here, I will return to the current content of the clipboard, and it will
say synced. Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay. That's great to know.
If I browse back in the history, it will say clipboard history here.
Cool.
So I click multiple times on the left arrow. I could also.
I was kind of wondering, where's the forward arrow? I don't see it. I thought that it was. Okay, I see. No, I was expecting it after the little pin. I was like, oh, you can go backwards, but can't you not go forward?
Yeah, that's the other way.
No, I see now.
It could be there. It could.
Yeah, I think it would make sense to have them close together because if I want to go backwards and then forward, like well, at least to me, it actually confused me. I was like, where's the forward button?
Yeah,
that's a good one. Cool. But this tool, at least with others that I've seen other clipboard editors and, well, not editors, it's just inspectors, so to speak. I haven't seen an editor before, is what I would say.
Yeah. The other thing is this pin here, so I can, in the clipboard here, add the current content as a clip. So I will add it as the slot number 6. Pin it here, close, and now if I use Alt 6, it will paste the content that I pinned, and these pinned items are also available here in this menu, and you can use it to paste or to retrieve. So if I left, it's not easy. I haven't found a better way to do that for now, but if you left click on this, it will paste the content of the pin clip. But if, let's say I cancel here, if I right click on the menu, it will retrieve the clip as is in the clipboard history. So it's different, but most of the time what you want to do is to just paste the pin clip that you made here. It can also be images. If I do images here, they cannot be pasted, they can be retrieved. So I have to right click here. And images now cannot be edited, but in the future version 4, 5, or 6, it will be possible to crop images and, you know, do the basic things that you want to do with images before pasting them. So cropping, resizing, these kind of things. Not doing changes in the image itself. It's beyond what I think I will be able to do. But at least cropping should be something doable for me.
And I would definitely say, oh, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Well, first off, let me go back. Jean, all those that you were showing, those hotkeys, those are just context sensitive, local, right? They're not global. None of them's global.
These are, yeah, at this time, I'm thinking of an option to make, for example, the Alt key to make it global, or to have a different set of keys, because for now, the keys here, these keys are local to the editor. To make them available everywhere else, yeah, it would not be only Alt, because you don't want to mobilize every Alt keys, Alt numbers, Alt keys for every application. But it would need to have maybe an additional attribute that would be global hotkey, where you could use Shift Control Alt something else to do.
If you change your name, to Zoom, then you can do that. Because that
no, and I would say, you know, whenever you create global hotkeys, I think it's a good idea to have kind of like an exclude section in which I could exclude some windows.
Yeah.
Because I have the same issue as Joe said, like with Zoom.
Yeah. I have it in quick access pop-up. I have this excluding thing. The only exclusion that you have here in the clipboard history is that you can exclude some application from the history.
Oh, cool.
For example, Bitwarden is a clipboard manager, a password manager. I don't want my passwords to be remembered in a database, even if it's local, okay? I don't want it to be shown to you if I do a demonstration, so I can exclude some application that will not be saved in the clipboard.
Perfect.
Jean, and I don't know if this would be annoying to do. I would even consider, hey, if I happen to copy my social security number, I might have a list of things. I also, if you ever see these values, right, like don't push them into my clipboard history.
Yeah.
Something to think
kind of stop words.
Yeah. So the other thing I was going to say, and again, just depends on, you know, what your plan and stuff, but having to do with editing the image, again, with AI, like I think you'd surprise yourself if you just opened it up to using a prompt to say, hey, add an arrow here, because you could just tell it, add an arrow here and point to this. It would generate that image for you, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you could do something like that if you cared to. Very cool tool.
I am really amazed. It's great. It's actually a very great usage of the Scintilla control under this particular use case. And as you can see, it brings a lot of joy to be able to edit multiple lines and have an editor that helps you be faster. Let me ask you this. Have you implemented, I think that is something that you can enable on the Scintilla control of auto closing stuff. Like, for example, if you open a parenthesis, it would close it right away. Like quotation marks and stuff like that.
What I implemented is auto indentation.
Auto indentation, right? Okay. Yeah, that's great.
The guys, you see the line.
I can see the line where the indentation is. Yeah, great. The other things like auto closing things automatically, it is a configuration. It's not like something that you have to implement. It's just something that you tell it, look, this is a list of things that I want you to auto close.
Okay, I'll look at that. I've seen this in the documentation, but it was not on the top of the things that I want.
No worries. Yeah, that's fine.
Extensions or plugins for site to do that. So you might be able to borrow some of that.
Yes.
And get indent text selection. You can do it on multiple selection if you have, let's say this here.
You know what I find hilarious, John, is and it's so horrible I don't use it, but the new version of Notepad, like you have so much more functionality and stuff we would actually want, and it's already amazing. It works. Yeah. And Windows releases their updated version of Notepad and it's horrible, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's really Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has tabs, so you can have multiple documents. But yeah, I found it confusing. Sometimes I return to the old Notepad just to check something with the old Notepad. So you have to type notepad.exe to launch it.
Yeah, insane. But this was really, really good, John. You got me convinced, so I'm downloading now.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you can retire now, Jean. Like
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I'll do that.
You said cropping images, but I would guess scaling images down would also be
Yeah,
pretty
things like
easy
that.
to implement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Excuse me, Joe. I would have to take 2 minutes to go
Okay.
for biological reason, and I'll be back.
Worries, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And Jean, I saw Geek Dude made some comments here in the chat. We can talk about some of those as well.
I was gonna comment on those. Yeah. So he was suggesting that we were talking about the RTF or HTML trying to go to or copying or modifying, and he suggested I think it would work better maybe to add rich edit or modifying the RTF, then collapse the RTF text to regenerate the text format clipboard for Microsoft. So basically, when you copy from Microsoft Word, you do already have an RTF there. So now that you have that, if you have your buttons like the bold, the italics, and so on, and some colors, you can add those as RTF in your text there. And then when you say copy, it would put the actual RTF back into your clipboard in a way that when you go to Microsoft Word and you paste, Microsoft Word will know what to do with that. You don't have the full Microsoft support, but you have the most basic or the most used features, which is great. And then he also had he said, I always wanted a clipboard editor with built-in text conversion tools that would help me in my work. It will help a lot if there were things like URI encoder, decoder, JSON, hex, and base64. I think in the part that says convert, I think he has a few of those, probably the URI encode and decode. I think that's there. I don't know about the
I
JSON
saw all of
something.
them, I think. So I'm pretty sure all of them were there. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw most of those in there. I do see that there's a convert menu in the menu bar, but if it was demonstrated already, I was not watching them. So I think they are there. I don't know if all of them. John, so I saw in the convert menu the URI encode and decode. Can you show the other types of conversions that you can do? Like I saw the hex and so on.
So there's
We have your
encode
URI encode
for
decode.
URL. So example, if you have this it will convert this code here, this column to a code that can be inserted in URL. And I will just redo it. And you could do the opposite with decode. So it will bring back the normal text. The other ones here, XML. So encode for XML will encode some characters that needs to be quoted, if you wish, when you use them in an XML file. The best is to go to the documentation here. You have Sweet Access pop-up, not the right software. Here, documentation, convert. So you can convert. Excuse me, I'm just, the Zoom windows are so confusing. Convert number base, so you can convert decimal number to hexadecimal or vice versa. Color codes, RGB to a single number, for example. URL, we talked about that. XML, so if you have ampersand in XML, it has to be converted to this code to be used in an XML file,
Yes,
etc.
those are entities, XML entities. Yeah. That's right.
That's right. And so you can encode and decode, so you can make it one way or the other. HTML, it will replace the end of line with BRs and also the entities.
Yep.
So for example, Montreal, Quebec will be changed to this string here with BR here. Encode text to hexadecimal. Not sure if it's often used, but it was easy to do, so I did it. ASCII is something when you want to just debug or diagnose what's happening with a string, you can convert a string to each ASCII character, ASCII number of each character in the string. It's not something to be used to paste. I think it's more something just to examine the content of a string.
Oh, that's a good one.
PHP. So you have two kind of PHP encoding. There's single quoted strings and double quoted strings. So strings encoded with double here or single quote. And you don't need to do the same conversion in these two cases. So this one is doing this conversion and this one here is doing more conversion, for example, converting \t to a tab.
Yeah.
In AutoHotkey, it will replace the tick end to control to end of line. Same thing for tab. And convert AutoHotkey var to expression or expression to var, especially if you're converting from AHK1 to version 2. There's no var anymore in version 2. So if you have a string that contains here your name as a variable, it will be converted to a string with quotes and variable name and concatenation dot here to concatenate.
Awesome. Yep.
And finally, binary is encode the full clipboard as a base 64 text. So base 64 text is something that
an image is great for that. Yeah.
Here. Yeah. So
you can grab the image and then convert it to base 64. That's awesome.
Yeah. Convert binary, encode the full clipboard to base 64.
And there you go. You got your image. Awesome. That's great.
Yeah, and if I cancel here now, it will be. It's now in
your
the
base
editor.
64.
It's in the clipboard, and I see this now as text. And I could send you this text by email, and you would be able to retrieve the image by using the opposite command that would be decode base 64.
And load it to the clipboard. That's insane. That's awesome. Great.
And now that I have it in the clipboard, if I go to Word and create a new document, I can paste. Oh, it didn't work. I should be able
but that's
to
a great
that image.
Right. We should be able to do that in the end. All right.
Yeah.
In Clipster, that's kind of what we do is, for pictures, have a hotkey or hot string to paste a picture. That's what we're doing, that's very cool.
Perfect. Now, Gig Dude mentioned a few other things, like for example, formatting. Do you have any so many people work with JSON strings or other types of strings like that. And there are some converters out there that would remove all the white space, like new lines and tabs, like this formatting, remove them and put them into one big JSON line, and then the other way around, like, okay, I just want to grab this JSON string and format it and look it pretty, for example. I don't know if you have something like that, do
it's called reformat. Where is it?
All right.
It's in the commands. I want to find an example of text that needs to be. Okay, here we go. So let's say I have this text here in the clipboard in the editor, and I want to make it paragraph or single line or anything. So in the commands, you have reformat. So reformat and separate identified paragraph. So I have here 1, 2, I have, let's say, maybe 3 paragraphs, and I will just use the default setting. It will make me 3 paragraphs here. Okay. If I want to make it 3 single lines, it here by default, where is it? It's here. By default. Okay. And I want to merge things here and make it lines of, let's say, 32 characters indented on the left side. I have this here. So with this, you would probably be able to do what you mentioned about JSON strings.
That's what I was thinking. You can create the formatted that you want. So you tell it how to format it or reformat, and then you would be able to. Right. Okay.
So you say if you want to have it to keep the paragraph, or do you want to merge the paragraph? So that's one thing at first. Then the width, if you're not doing it on one line, it could be indented right. So you have the same thing here, but here you have an end of line. If I see it, you have end of lines at every line, and I could convert it. You can give rules for punctuation. So if there are, if in French, for example, we put a space before column, not in English. You could create different rules for that. And when you're done, you can save it. And it will be available easily here in the replace. It's not there. Oh, I didn't say it. I wanted to put it in the menu.
In the menu, you didn't. Yeah.
Manage, save command. This one here, I will edit. And just say I want to add it to the menu.
Right.
And now it's here. And you could have a hotkey for this if you will use it very frequently.
Definitely. All right. No, it looks great. And actually for what is meant to do, which is part of what I was going to touch on. And I'm going to end up here because we have to cut the video in a bit. But basically what I was going to say is like, when you mentioned something about the images and editing images, I think one of the biggest things that you have done, at least with QAP and others, is that you try to keep it into a very specific scope. And it's great to have it like that. If you want to edit images, go to an editor. There are many out there,
Yeah,
you know, like I think at this point, what the tool is meant to do is quickly do some reformatting of the clipboard. And if you want to have some basic stuff like add a circle or a square, that's great. But as soon as you enter into this other part of, cropping and resizing, well, you're going a little bit too far, and that might introduce bugs to your software that for now I see that is working really great.
I have more often scoping issues. For me, is just to do too much. As you can see in Quick Access Pop-Up, there are so many features, so it makes a tool that becomes more for power users that are not afraid to see a list of 10 options.
No, that's fine.
Some
That's
user
fine.
just prefer to have give it directly the way I want to use it, and hopefully it will.
All right.
Will do it the way you want. But I'm on the other side where I don't know where I will stop, but to me, it's just that I'm a little bit afraid of working with graphic commands like this. You know, GDPI, I use it a little bit just to convert images to something that can be saved in the database and these kind of things. But working really, that's the next one of the next steps. My really next step is to make Quick Access Pop-Up and Quick Clipboard Editor to work together, because it will bring more user to the application and then bring more suggestions like the one you just made that I'm using to improve the application.
But what I didn't mention, Jean, is I saw you have an entry level and an advanced level way to use it, right? When that's great.
That was for you, Joe.
Thought it might have been. Yeah.
Not that you don't want to use the advanced features, but you want to have something that can be easy for a new user.
Right.
That was the intention.
Yeah. No, it's very perfect. Does anyone else have any other questions real quick before we wrap this up on QC?
Once it reaches the max, does the oldest stuff drop off then? Is that how?
So if you pinned a clip, it will never be erased from the database.
Okay.
And for other clips, the oldest will be deleted at some point, depending on the size that you decided to give to the database. So every time you start with Clipboard Editor, it will clean up the old stuff just to keep the database in the maximum size that you mentioned.
Jean, I have a quick question, a follow-up on that. Maybe I missed it if you explained it. I saw how you can change the sizes, right? But what if I want to say, I don't want to ever have pictures. I want it to get bigger, but I don't want pictures in there. Do you have that kind of capability of?
Not at this time, but what you can say is the maximum size of the clips that you want to save. So if a clip has
okay.
more than 1 meg, for example,
Yep.
so probably an image would have more than 1 meg, it will not be
Yep.
saved. So it will keep your database smaller.
Yeah, that's close enough.
That's one of the things that are changed when you select at the beginning if you want the basic setup or the power user setup.
I thought an earlier version had like automatic rules that would fire when you copied to the clipboard, like you did
Yeah.
Montreal and Quebec, it would put accent aigu or accent grave. And
Yeah. Something I worked on, it was the application that was called Clipboard Access at that time. But I stopped working on that and focused more on the editing than on the rules. So that's something that could be bring back later to have rules.
Okay, just to
you know, it could be an extension of the saved command. You can save a command and you could click that you want this to be active, always active, so that it will monitor the clipboard to activate the command when some criteria is met. Yeah, but
Sounds good.
Yeah,
awesome.
And maybe have them back for a session with quick access pop up. You know. And
yeah. So we are now at version 7. I'm at 3 now, so we have plans for version 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you to you.
All right, let's wrap up at least the recording for this so we can break it up in the separate part.